As a survivor of one of the many Indian day schools or federal day schools across Canada, you have waited a long time for justice. And it is the hope that this settlement will represent a step in your healing. At Gowling, we want to support you in taking that step by walking you through how to complete your claim form. This is the form you must use to apply for compensation from the settlement. The claims process is now open, and a claim form can be submitted anytime up until July 13, 2022. The claims process was developed to give you the opportunity to 1. Make your claim for compensation at the best level for you, 2. Tell your story in a safe and comfortable environment, and 3. Access health, cultural, and legal supports as needed as you go through the claims process. First, you will complete and submit your claim form to the claims administrator. The claims administrator is responsible for reviewing your claim form to ensure that the level of harm selected by you matches the information provided by you. The claims administrator is responsible for sending you the designated compensation for which you qualify. After you submit your claim form, the administrator may ask you for further information or ask you for instructions. Sometimes, the administrator will designate less compensation for you than what you've claimed. You can either accept the administrator's decision, or you can choose to have that decision reviewed by an independent assessor. The independent assessor will review your claim form and the administrator's decision. The decision of the independent assessor is final. In unique and specific situations, the third-party assessor may refer a claim to the exceptions committee for consideration. In these situations, the exceptions committee will make the final determination of your claim. You will be kept advised as this review process moves along. It is always important that you respond as quickly as possible to requests for information from the administrator and the independent assessor to keep your request for compensation moving forward. For any questions about the claim form or claims process, you can call the claims helpline at 1-888-221-2898 to seek support from Class Counsel and the claims administrator. We are here to answer your questions at no cost to you and to help you make sure you fill out all your forms properly so you can receive your share of the settlement. Your claim form can be found at indiandayschools.com, or if you would like the claim form mailed to you, you can call 1-888-221-2898 or email dayschools@gowlingwlg.com. For many people, completing this claim form is a big step. Please take your time. This video will be here whenever you are ready. And if at any time you feel you are experiencing emotional distress or want to talk to someone, you can call the Hope for Wellness helpline at 1-855-242-3310. For those who have been impacted by federal Indian day schools, the Hope for Wellness helpline offers immediate access to crisis intervention counseling for First Nation, Inuit, and Métis people. Counselors will be there to listen and to help anyone in distress, having a strong emotional reaction, or triggered by painful memories. Before you begin, make sure you have some form of government-issued identification, like a driver's license or a social insurance card. You need to provide a copy of your ID to make your claim. As you can see, the form starts with a description of the settlement and a reminder of when you have to submit your filled-out claim form. Remember, you have to submit your claim form no later than July 13, 2022. The next section has some history of the day schools and a link to the schools that are eligible under the settlement. It is a good idea to click on the link and make sure the school you went to is listed. And again, remember, if you have any questions about the settlement or information required on the form, email dayschools@gowlingwlg.com or call Class Counsel, Gowling WLG at this phone number. We are here to answer your questions at no cost to you. The next section is about eligibility. To be eligible for compensation, you must be a person who both attended a federal Indian day school or federal day school funded, managed, and controlled by Canada, and suffered abuse or harm from teaching staff, officials, students, or other third parties at the school. Please note that you can't make a claim if you have already received a settlement from Canada for the same harms that you were going to list on this form. This limitation does not include compensation that you may have received under the Indian Residential School Settlement. Even if you receive compensation under the IRSSA, you can still make a claim under this settlement. Now, you're ready to start filling out the form. There will be up to 7 parts. You may not need to fill them all out, but it is still good to go through them all just to be sure. Part 1 is a very straightforward section. You just have to make sure you fill out the right information, especially if you're filling it out for someone else. You start with a first name, middle name if you or the other person has one, and a last name. If there are other names that were used when attending the school, like a maiden name, an adopted name, or a nickname, add those in this section. Next, you need to add a date of birth. And if this is for someone who has passed away, the date of their death. Next, you need to add your Certificate of Indian Status registration number if you have one, or your beneficiary number if you have one, and a social insurance number if you have one. The next part asks you your address and contact information. And finally, add your current home community or communities if it applies. This might be a First Nation, town, hamlet, or settlement. The next part is where you add the names of all the day schools you attended. Remember to check the list to make sure your school is eligible. Let's start with where the school was located, on a reserve, at a specific location, or a community, in a province or territory. The next part is important. You need to put the very first year you attended the day school or how old you were at that time. Then, you need to put the last year you attended the school or how old you were at that time. It only has to be the year, not an exact day. If you went to more than one school, add the other school. Then you can move on to Part 3. Part 3 does not have a lot to fill out, but it's important to read and understand before you sign. Basically, this part of the claim form asks you to confirm that you understand the administrator and independent assessor who will receive your form are not your lawyers and not representatives of any day schools. It also says you understand the administrator or Canada may need to disclose your information to other organizations involved in the claims process, to each other, or with the lawyers tasked with helping you with your claim. And lastly, that everything you write in the form is true to the best of your knowledge. The section where it says Other Prior Settlement is asking if you have already received money from Canada for the abuse you suffered at Federal Indian Day School or Federal Day School. You must answer yes or no. This section does not include payments for Indian residential schools. That is a separate settlement. If you have any questions, contact your class counsel, because if you answer yes, you are not eligible for compensation under this claim. Then you need to sign and date the form. And a person needs to watch you sign this page and then sign and date as a witness. Please know that your witness does not read or look at any of the personal information you've included in your form. They just have to see you sign this page. You and your witness can add the witness's first name, last name, address, and contact information. That's it for Part 3. Part 4 and 5 is where things might get more difficult. Just a reminder, if you feel triggered or experience any overwhelming feelings while filling out this form, counselors dedicated to supporting Indigenous people are standing by and ready to help. You can reach them anytime, day or night, at the Hope for Wellness helpline. Call 1-855-242-3310. It may be hard, but this section and the next one matter a lot because they are about what you went through, and it might affect the compensation you receive. Take your time. And if you have any questions about anything in this section, contact Class Counsel at dayschools@gallingwlg.com or through the claims helpline at 1-888-221-2898. As we go forward, don't fill out anything until we've gone through all the levels of harm. As you think about making a claim for compensation, it's important that you have already in place the emotional or mental health supports that you think you'll need while you go through this process. Under this settlement, you will be compensated for the most serious harm you suffered while attending a day school. You can list all the harms you suffered, but you may choose only one harm level out of the 5 available. Compensation ranges from $10,000 for a Level 1 claim to $200,000 for a Level 5 claim. We will discuss the different harm levels in a moment. For now, take some time to think about the harms that you suffered. Also, think about the words that you will use to describe this harm, as well as other people who might confirm your story. Also, pull together any supporting documents, photographs, reports of school, medical therapy, witness statements that may assist you as you complete your claim form. As you work your way through the claim form, you will need to have this information at hand. Again, you can only choose one level of harm to claim, so you really need to think about your experience before you fill out the form and the harm level, 1 through 5, that best describes what you experienced. But make sure you do make a selection. If you do not select a level, there will be delays in processing your application, and the claims administrator will have to call to go through the form with you. Once you've gone through the entire video and form, you can always rewind and rewatch this section. Part 4 of the claim form is about Level 1 harms. Level 1 harms involve the lowest level of verbal and physical harms. Here is a list of things for you to look at. You are asked to read this list and decide if that captures your experience or if more happened to you. If you think this list reflects the most serious harm or abuse you experienced, then mark the box. You can then leave Part 5 blank and go directly to Part 6 without providing any additional information. But before you do this, it is a good idea to look at Part 5 to see if it applies to you. Part 5 is about Levels 2, 3, 4, and 5 abuse or harm that you suffered from teachers, students, officials, and/or other people while attending at a day school. Abuse that goes beyond what was listed under Level 1. The types of abuse and harm have been broken out into different types: sexual abuse and harm, physical abuse and harm. There are also different levels of abuse or harm ranging from Level 2 to Level 5. Only you know and understand what you experience. Step 1 is taking the time to read through everything to see what level applies to your situation. For Levels 2, 3, and 4, you don't need to have experienced both sexual or physical abuse. It can be one or the other. The last 2 levels of harm, 4 and 5, will require that you have compassionate support and an in-depth commitment of time to go through the distinctions and nuances between them. We are available to assist you with these more difficult levels of harm. Level 5 is complicated. It means there was repeated sexual abuse or additional physical abuse during the sexual abuse. Then, Step 2 is selecting your claim level. Step 3 is going to be the hardest part of this form because this is where you are being asked to provide information in support of the level you chose. This is a list of things you will be asked for in Part 5. Take some time and gather what you have so you can fill out the next sections with as much information as possible. If you marked Level 2, 3, 4, or 5, you will need to write a description of the abuse or harm you experienced. This should include names, places, and dates as best as you can remember, as well as include enough detail and description of the events that occurred so that the administrator can understand why the level you selected is appropriate. Remember to include a description of both the incidents that occurred and the injuries or harms, whether physical or mental, that resulted. And if you received medical attention or tried to get medical attention for that incident, then or since then, please write down that information as well. It doesn't have to be long, just what you remember. And if there is more than one thing you want to include, add as many pages as you need to, attach to your final form and marked Part 5A. Next, you are asked to identify the position and/or name of the person who inflicted the harm or abuse on you. This might include a teacher, an official, another student, or some other member of the staff. If you are in level 4 or 5, the names, descriptions, and/or positions of the person or persons who inflicted the abuse must be provided. Part 5C is where you are asked for evidence that you attended a day school. This must be provided if you are making a level 2 to 5 claim. Evidence can be things like report cards, enrollment forms, class photos, letters from a teacher or a principal, or other records like yearbooks or school articles. List the records you have and then attach copies of everything to your filled out form. Always keep your originals. With any claim, the more you can do to show evidence that supports your experience, the better. This part is for information from family and friends who know what happened to you. You'll want to ask them to write about their account of what happened and to provide copies of any documents they have as well, photos, diaries, or other records they think will help you. Letters from elders can be included in this section. Be sure to list the people who are sharing their information and the records you're attaching to the form. It's alright if no one knows what happened to you. There is another way you can address this covered later in the video. This next section is also about supporting your experience, but with medical, therapy, nursing records, and dental records. If you have medical, dental, nursing, or therapy records, make copies and include them with your form. These records will help document your injuries. Records can be from the past or present. Many injuries have a lasting effect on your body and your mind. If you do not have a past record, it may still be possible to document the injury in a current record. If you are not sure how to get a current record, please contact us at 1-888-221-2898. We will walk you through a step-by-step process on how to get a current record and provide ongoing support in helping you get it. List the records you're including here before moving on. Not everyone is going to have all the records listed in the claim form. If you do not have all of the required documents, you can submit a sworn declaration as another way to provide information. A sworn declaration is a statement you sign that says all the information you've provided is true to the best of your knowledge. But you also need someone else to watch you sign this page. That person is called your guarantor. Your guarantor can be a notary public or commissioner of oaths. It can be an elected official or community leader, like a chief, counselor, or Inuit community leader. It can even be a lawyer, doctor, accountant, or police officer. They watch you sign, then sign and add their contact information to make it official. Remember, your guarantor does not read or see any of your personal information that you included in this form. They only need to see you sign the page. The guarantor will also need to provide a first name, last name, title, and contact details, address, etc., in addition to the signature and date. That's it. Not everyone will be filling a claim form for themselves. This section is for people filling out the claim form as a legal representative for someone else. These people are called personal representatives. However, not everyone can be a personal representative. It has to be someone appointed by the court to manage or make reasonable judgments for those with a disability, or the estate executor or administrator of a claimant who died on or after July 31st, 2007. If you are a personal representative, you mark this box, then provide all the details below from a name to address to phone number and email. You will also have to attach documentation proving that you are acting as a personal representative. This might include a death certificate and will, a Revenu Québec estate form or court order appointing you estate administrator of a deceased client, letters of administration from INAC or CERNA, or evidence of power of attorney for someone with a disability. You will also have to provide a copy of your own government-issued identification. List your documents here and be sure to include copies with your filled-out form. Please make a copy of your claim form and all attached documents for your own personal records. It is important to note that original photographs or records are not required. Now that you've filled everything out and have all your forms and information together, you will also want to let the administrator know what to do with your information when everything is finished. You have 3 choices: have the documents destroyed, have them returned to you, or have them sent to the Legacy Fund so that your shori becomes part of the healing process and helps preserve Indigenous languages and culture. You've reached the end of the claim form. This is a checklist to make sure you've got everything together and filled everything out. It's a good idea to take a few minutes to go back and make sure. Then package everything together and send it to Indian Day School's Class Action Claims Administrator, care of Deloitte, by mail at P.O. Box 1775, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, M5C082, or by fax at 1-416-366-1102, or by email at indiandayschools@deloitte.ca. Acknowledgement of past wrongs has been a long time coming. We at Galing hope that securing compensation for harm suffered by you will help to move the healing process forward, for you and for all the other Indian day schools and federal day school survivors.